Hello. For my project, I wanted to focus on a local piece of art. I've lived in Atascadero for most of my life and have passed by our City Hall building countless times. It wasn't until recently that I began appreciating it as an artwork. As I researched the building, I became fascinated with our town's history. In 1914, the brand new colony of Atascadero, under the leadership of its founder, E.G. Lewis, began work on the Atascadero Administration Building, a double-domed Italian Renaissance structure destined to become an icon for the city. For nearly a century, the legendary building operated in many capacities until damage sustained in the devastating San Simeon earthquake in 2003 threatened to close it forever. Established in the middle of a cattle ranch in 1913, Atascadero represented a vision of sustainable agrarian living coupled with urban amenities. E.G. Lewis envisioned people living in custom-built homes on large lots, each relying on the bounty of the agriculture of fruit, vegetables, and livestock to cover or at least defray the cost of living. But the first brick-and-mortar structures would not be homes. They would be the anchors of industry, health, and municipal government. Lewis planned to use the Atascadero Administration Building to house local government offices and the Chamber of Commerce. The building would be fronted by a sunken garden inspired by the St. Louis Exposition. The building would be built by F.O. Engstrom at a projected cost of $250,000 using locally produced bricks on a concrete frame at the lower levels. Above the fourth floor, the masonry was the primary structure. The cornerstone was laid July 12, 1914, and the building was finally finished in 1918. It served as an icon for the community for decades, home to dances, parties, and community meetings. Access to the upper floors was achieved primarily via stairs. At 11:15 a.m. on December 22, 2003, the San Simeon earthquake struck the Central Coast. At a magnitude of 6.5, it pushed the building to its limits. Bricks flew from the sides of the building and internal columns twisted. Ceilings fell and bricks crashed to the floor. Previous seismic upgrades installed in 1984 prevented catastrophe. Steel elements installed in 1984 buckled, but prevented collapse of the upper rotunda. Likewise, the balustrades across the upper perimeter that had been installed previously with concrete block broke, but were held suspended by steel and wire, which was installed in 1984. Thankfully, none of the city employees at work that day were injured. After the earthquake, city officials immediately started planning to deal with the damaged building. Damage assessments, documentation, FEMA negotiations, and design for the repair work took 6 years. It soon became apparent that repairs would cost dearly in time and money. Some residents said it was too much, that the building should be torn down and replaced with a new structure. The building's historic status made that impossible. The city faced two options: leave the shattered building abandoned behind security fencing, a blight to the downtown community, or fix it. After much public debate, the city decided the building, which stood in the center of the community, would be saved. After massive renovations spanning a decade and an estimated $28 million, the building reopened in 2013. Today, the historic building once again stands as a symbol of power and endurance of our town. City offices fill its circular halls, and historic photos and placards explain the history, significance, and use of the amazing structure. The dramatic domed presence of the Atascadero Administration Building has been impressive since the beginning of the city. Reminiscent of Italian Renaissance and inspired by the architecture displayed at the 1904 Exposition in St. Louis, Missouri, the building holds a secret. There are actually two rotundas, one set above the other, the apex of each some 40 feet above the floor. Each would require a certain amount of acrobatics to repair. After repairs were completed on both rotundas, Workers added the dazzling final touches. For the upper rotunda, special acoustic plaster to reduce echoes in the City Council chamber. For the lower rotunda, a breathtaking stylized treatment designed to have visitors craning upward in the area that would become the public reception of the City Hall. The repair of the interior domes of the Atascadero Administration Building would be a work of art in itself, restoring the glory to the structure that had stood as the center of the city of Atascadero since the beginning. Note the beautiful coffered ceilings here. Surrounding the building are massive Ionic columns. The Ionic column is typically identified by its capital, which includes large paired spiral scrolls. Columns of this style can be found throughout Capitol Hill, including the U.S. Capitol, the Supreme Court building, and the exterior of the Longworth House office building. From ground level to very top, the Atascadero Administration Building stands 94 feet tall. With its curved surface and dizzying height, it stands as the icon of our town, a symbol of strength and endurance. Hello. For my project, I wanted to focus on a local piece of